What's going on, Chicago Bears fans? I am Harrison Graham on Chicago Bears Now, and today, a little bit of a different show. I want to break down Pro Football Focus's grades for the Bears at the midway point of the season, bye week this week, so I felt like halfway through this was a perfect time to see how Pro Football Focus feels about some of these players and how I feel, whether I agree or disagree. So we'll break it down. We'll go position by position. Let's start with the quarterback, Justin Fields. How does Pro Football Focus grade him? 64.6, and that's about average on their scale. A 70 is a little bit above average, so mid-60, that basically tells me they think he's been average. And overall, that's probably fair. You look at the stats and you're like, okay, statistically, he clearly has been below average, right? Under 60% completion, 1 to 2 touchdown to interception ratio. But I think for you true Bears fans, and obviously myself who's watched this every single play this year, stats don't tell the full story when it comes to this Chicago Bears team. You're seeing a young quarterback that is aggressive, is willing to challenge teams vertically, and can make all of the throws and continues to get better each and every week. So I think an average grade from PFF is actually pretty fair because I think he's played better than the stats show. Plus, you have to factor in the rushing ability, right? Almost 300 yards rushing, has a couple of touchdowns, averaging over 5 yards a carry. I think the Bears should utilize his legs more moving forward. I like the progression I'm seeing from Justin Fields. This kid continues to get better and better every week, and we just saw him have his best game of his career against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. So grade his play this year, not on PFF scale, your scale, A, B, C, D, or F, being A being has been awesome, F being meaning he's been horrible. I'm probably in like that C-plus range. Considering he's a rookie and he's getting better, I like what I'm seeing from Justin Fields. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video, so if you get hit with a YouTube ad break, scroll on down and give me an A, B, C, D, or F for Fields. Let's keep it moving here. David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. Some of these position groups, we'll take a look at a couple of guys. Monty, 72.1. Herbert, 82.4. So PFF has actually graded Herbert higher than David Montgomery so far this year. Obviously, Monty missed some time with that injury. Let's compare the stats side by side so far this year. They're pretty similar, right? Montgomery, 82 carries compared to 85 for Herbert, 372 to 364. 3 touchdowns compared to 1. And then Monty's got a little bit more receiving yardage on him. I think Montgomery has been the better player, but Herbert's been a really nice surprise, right? I am a little surprised Pro Football Focus has him as a higher grade, but Montgomery's broken more tackles. He's been a little bit more explosive in the yards per carry department as well, but Herbert's been great. I love what I'm seeing from Khalil Herbert. The Chicago Bears have a very nice 1-2 punch at running back moving forward, assuming they keep both of these guys. So I'm excited about that. I would have had a higher grade on David Montgomery, but I think that both have been good players, and their grades certainly reflect that. Who is the better running back? What do you guys think? Type DM for David Montgomery, type KH for Khalil Herbert. I think it's Monty, but Herbert has been far better than we expected as a rookie. Type DM for Monty or type KH for Herbert. Before we get to the wide receivers, make sure you guys subscribe to us here at Chicago Bears Now, the latest news, rumors. We do live watch parties, live shows every Tuesday as well at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time. We are the fastest growing channel here on YouTube when it comes to the Chicago Bears, so subscribe and don't miss any of our videos at youtube.com/BearsNow. All right, let's keep it moving here. Let's go to the wide receivers, Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson. Let's go ahead and reveal their grades here, Trace, when it comes to Mooney and Robinson. 73.8 for Mooney, 67.6 for A-Rob. I agree with this one more than the running backs because when you compare the stats of the receivers here, Mooney and A-Rob, it's clear that Darnell Mooney's been the better player, right? I mean, he's just been more productive for Chicago so far this season. You compare the two side by side right now, 36 catches on 59 targets for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns. The yards per catch is a little higher. A-Rob, 39 for 339, a touchdown. I think he's played a little better. Him and Fields are starting to get on the same page. Now, I'm not saying Mooney is a better player than Allen Robinson. I'm saying he's been better this year, and I think the fit with Fields has been a little better because Mooney is faster and gets more separation. A-Rob's a different type of receiver, more of a physical guy, a guy that you can just throw the ball up to one-on-one, and he's going to come down with the catch. And, you know, young quarterbacks don't quite trust that as early on as a veteran quarterback might. So Hopefully A-Rob keeps improving this year, but I think the grades reflect that Mooney's been better, and I certainly agree with that when it comes to Pro Football Focus. Now, here's a question I'm not so sure about. Should the Bears re-sign Allen Robinson? For over a year, I said, hashtag sign AR, extend AR, etc. Now, I'm not so sure. Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think it'll come down to money, but let me know what you guys think. Should the Bears re-sign Allen Robinson? Now, today's show is sponsored by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. And guys, you can make money all season long with BetUS when you go to chatsports.com/Bears and use our promo code BEARDOWN. You look at my picks this week. I went 1-4 last week, my first losing week in 6 weeks, so I'm looking to bounce back. Love the Titans -3 against New Orleans at home. I think that spread should be bigger. Patriots -2.5 against the Browns. Pittsburgh, Detroit over 42.5. I think there will be some points in that game. I've got the under in Philadelphia, Denver, and then Chiefs -2.5 at Las Vegas. Trendy pick is the Raiders, but I actually think their Chiefs are going to show the world that they are still the team to beat in that division. So let me know if you dislike my picks. Also, get going with BetUS, chatsports.com/Bears, promo code BEARDOWN. Let's keep our PFF grades going here as we kind of analyze how Pro Football Focus views the Bears at this point in the season. Cole Kmet, tight ends, just going to focus on him here. 63.3, so maybe a tick below average based on PFF's grading system. And, I don't really have any major gripes with that. Kmet and the tight ends have been fairly quiet. He's just got 28 catches this year, 284 yards, doesn't have a touchdown, an average of 10.1. That's certainly a fine number for him. I will say this, I think he's trending upward, just had his best game of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the second half of the year is critical for Kmet. Needs to finish 2021 strong because he's shown in a few games throughout his career he can be a real weapon. He showed that against Pittsburgh the other day. I thought he was the best tight end for the Bears by a long shot. He needs to be the primary weapon at that position. I don't really need to see Jimmy Graham at this point. Get Cole Kmet more targets, and let's see if he can become a true proven tight end one for this team. Okay, let's go to the offensive line. Jason Peters, highest grade O-lineman for the Chicago Bears, 76.7. What a story, man. I mean, the guy's fishing when he gets a call from the Bears, and he comes in here, and he's been the best offensive lineman. Been a great story. He's been a great mentor, and he's been a really good player at left tackle so far this year. I don't think the Bears expected this much. I think they were hoping he would be decent. He's been more than decent. He's been really solid overall. You look at some of the other Bears offensive linemen, both guards, a tick above average, which I think is fair. James Daniels, Cody Whitehair, neither has been stellar, but both have been, starting caliber. Jermaine Ifedi, before the injury, had been below average at right tackle. I disagree with Larry Borum's grade at 55. He's only played in about 2.5 games, but I think he's held up very well over at right tackle. PFF, I definitely disagree with at times, which you guys, if you stay tuned, you'll see some on the defensive side I definitely disagree with. And then Sam Mustipher, 51.3. Guys, Sam Mustipher cannot be the starting center next year. I think the Bears wanted to give him this opportunity in 2021. He finished last year fairly strong, and I was fine with that. I was fine with giving him a chance this year to be the starter. But, look, he's just not strong enough. He was undrafted for a reason. I'm fine with him as a backup, but I don't think he can be your starting center in 2022. How do you feel about the Bears O-line moving forward? Because I think there's some promising young players, Tevin Jenkins as well. I mentioned Larry Borum, but there's still some question marks. Center, is Jenkins going to be good? Do you trust Daniels and Whitehair at guard? Is Daniels going to be back? He's a free agent. Type W if you're worried about the offensive line, or type E if you're excited. Maybe both. Maybe you're worried but excited about the potential. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. All right, let's keep it going. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman. Hicks above average, 67. Eddie Goldman, yikes, 38.5. As we focus on two of the more notable players on the defensive line here. Akeem Hicks is still a good player, but he can't stay healthy. He stays hurt very often. Eddie Goldman's probably done. And I don't want to rip Eddie Goldman too much. I just don't think he loves football, guys. And if you don't love football, it's hard to be a good football player, you know what I mean? He sat out last year due to COVID. I certainly don't have any issue with that, but he's come back this year. There was the whole issue. He was gone for a lot of the offseason stuff before training camp and all that good stuff. I think he might be done, man, and that's okay. If he wants to retire from football, or if the Bears cut him after this year, that's perfectly fine with me. But I do think Bilal Nichols should probably get more snaps at nose tackle, where he played last year and played pretty darn well. Okay, let's keep it moving here. Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. Where does PFF have them? 73.5 for Mack, so well above average there. 66.8 for Quinn, maybe a tick above average. This feels disrespectful to me, especially for Mack, but for Quinn too. I mean, he's really bounced back nicely this year. They've both been really, really good. Obviously, Mack has missed the last 2 games, but in 7 games this year, in which 5 or 6 of these Mack was playing through injury, 6 sacks, 7 QB hits. That's pretty damn good. Over a 17-game season, he was going to be on pace for like 15 sacks before the injury. I don't know how that translates to a 73 grade for Pro Football Focus. Robert Quinn, he's got 6.5 sacks on his own. He's been pretty dang solid. Now, he's not as good of a run defender as Mack, so I think Quinn should have been in like that 73, 74 range, and Mack should have been well above 80. I think Khalil Mack has been a tremendous player this year when he's been able to play, and again, that's with him not being really close to 100% healthy. Who will end up with more sacks at the end of the year? I think Mack will return after the bye week. Type KM for Khalil Mack, type RQ for Robert Quinn, and let us know who will have more sacks for the Bears this season. We'll go to off-ball linebacker here, Roquan Smith, and now this is where things start to get weird. 53.2, well below average on PFF's grading system. We must be watching a different player, because Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. This grade makes no sense. It makes no sense to give Roquan Smith a 53.2 grade. He does everything, and he does it all pretty darn well. Now, he's missed a couple tackles this year, but who cares, man? The guy has been absolutely tremendous so far this year. You look at the numbers. He's been all over the place for Chicago so far this season. He does a little bit of everything for the Chicago Bears, and I think he can continue to get better. He's good in coverage. He tackles well. He blitzes. This is a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. It really is when it comes to Roquan Smith. So I don't really get that one at the end of the day, but hopefully he will, prove PFF wrong, because I firmly disagree with this one. If you disagree as well, type me in the comments. I don't know what PFF sees when it comes to Roquan Smith's grade of 53.2. That's just disrespectful, so spam me down below. Couple more here. Jaylon Johnson and Kindle Vildor. This is also weird on this one. Johnson, 59.7. Kindle Vildor, 54.5. You're telling me Jaylon Johnson and Kindle Vildor, there's not a big gap between those two? That's just incorrect. That is just not the case. PFF has officially lost me here these last couple of groupings. Roquan, total fraudulent grade, and Jaylon Johnson is much better than Kindle Vildor. That's not even a question. But Johnson's been really good. He's gotten beat a few times this year, but I disagree with that from Pro Football Focus. And Vildor, for the most part, has not been very good at all. So to say that there's a small gap between them, I got to disagree with that. Eddie Jackson here, this is our final one as we go to safeties. 55 flat. I think that's a tick low. I think he should be in the 60s probably, but let's be honest. Ever since Eddie Jackson got the bag a couple of years ago, he's kind of been lost since then. He doesn't tackle well. He hasn't been able to create takeaways. Now, last year, we talked about, had a couple of pick sixes called back, and that was unlucky. But this year, 0 interceptions, 0 pass breakups. Guy was signed to be a major playmaker, and he has not been that since he got that contract. Do you like Pro Football Focus's grading system? Type L for like, type D for dislike. I like a lot of the work they do, but it's very subjective, and me as someone who watches this team every single week, I'm allowed to have my opinion as well, and I think they were wrong on a lot of this stuff, but some of their stuff was okay, especially on the offensive side. L for like or D for dislike. Before we sign off, I want to quickly remind you guys to subscribe at youtube.com/BearsNow. We will continue to have the latest Chicago Bears news, rumors. Sometimes we'll do more shows like this, so if you enjoyed it, let us know, and we will see you next time here on the channel.